June 15th, 1960 at 6:47 p.m. Small's Paradise, 2294 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. Bumpy Johnson stood at the entrance of his daughter's wedding reception. Outside, Vincent the Chin Gigante's black Cadillac idled at the curb. The most feared enforcer in New York had arrived with gifts, 6 of them, wrapped in white silk, but he would enter. The room held 200 guests, judges, politicians, numbers runners, made men from 5 families. Everyone saw the car. Everyone knew what it meant when the Chin came calling. Bumpy was 62 years old, dying, heart disease eating him from the inside. This was supposed to be his daughter's perfect day. Now, the most dangerous man in the Genovese family sat outside, waiting. The gifts remained on the sidewalk. The Chin stayed in his car. And Bumpy had to decide, was this respect, or was this the beginning of the end? 3 months earlier, everything had changed. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson controlled Harlem's underworld for 37 years. He ran the numbers, protected the neighborhood, kept the Italian families from swallowing everything north of 110th Street. What separated him from other gangsters wasn't just intelligence, it was principle. He fed families during the Depression, paid for funerals, sent kids to college. Harlem didn't just fear Bumpy Johnson, Harlem loved him. But 1968 wasn't 1948. The heroin epidemic ravaged the streets. Young militants challenged old power structures. The Italians sensed weakness. Bumpy had survived 2 assassination attempts that spring. His heart couldn't take the stress anymore. Doctors gave him months, maybe a year. He was trying to transition out, pass his operations to trusted lieutenants, give his daughter, Ruthie, one perfect memory before he died. The wedding cost him $12,000. He invited everyone who mattered. It was supposed to be a celebration, a symbol that Bumpy Johnson's legacy would outlive him, that his family would remain untouchable, protected. Then Vincent Gigante asked for an invitation, and Bumpy said no. Vincent the Chin Gigante was the Genovese family's executioner, had survived the Castellammarese War, walked through bullets in 4 different hits. The streets called him the Chin because of his granite jaw broken 3 times, never set properly. He was the man who shot Frank Costello in 1957. Missed killing him, but the message landed. Costello retired the next day. The Chin wanted Harlem, not just a piece, everything. With Bumpy dying, the moment had arrived, had already approached Bumpy's lieutenants, offered partnerships, threatened families. He was preparing to flood Harlem with heroin, turn the neighborhood into an open market. Bumpy stood in the way of millions. Gigante had killed 47 men by 1968. His own cousin, a priest who heard too much confession. He didn't negotiate. He eliminated. His crew controlled the waterfront, the Fulton Fish Market, the garbage contracts. His boss, Vito Genovese, was in prison, but the Chin ran operations with absolute authority. When he wanted something, people died or complied. On May 28th, he sent Bumpy a message through Joey Gallo. Simple words: step aside, or your family mourns. Bumpy sent back a photograph. The Chin's daughter, outside her school. No threat, just a photograph. No words necessary. Now the Chin was at Ruthie's wedding, uninvited, and everyone watched. The Chin planned it perfectly. Show up uninvited, bring expensive gifts, force Bumpy to react publicly. If Bumpy accepted the gifts, he appeared weak, submissive, the old lion taking scraps from the new king. If Bumpy rejected them, he insulted the Genovese family in front of 200 witnesses, politicians, judges, men who did business with both sides. Either choice bled him. The Chin could sit in his car, engine running, and win. Inside Small's Paradise, the reception glowed with candlelight. The jazz band played Duke Ellington. Waiters in white jackets served prime rib and champagne. Crystal chandeliers reflected off polished floors. Ruthie wore her mother's pearls. She looked radiant. 23 years old, marrying a Morehouse graduate, a dentist. The kind of legitimate success Bumpy wanted for his bloodline. Table 12 held Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Table 7 had 3 New York State senators. This was a criminal gathering. This was Harlem royalty celebrating family. Then the Cadillac arrived, black, chrome gleaming, license plate, VG 1968. The Chin didn't try to hide. He wanted everyone to see. His driver stepped out first, then Big Mac Coppola, then Petey Munns. 3 enforcers. They opened the trunk, removed 6 white boxes, silk ribbons. They arranged them on the sidewalk outside the entrance. Precise, deliberate. Then they returned to the car. At 6:47 p.m., the music stopped. Someone near the door saw the boxes. Whispered. The whisper spread like wildfire. Within 30 seconds, everyone knew. The band tried to continue. The clarinet player's hands shook. He hit wrong notes. The music died. At 6:49 p.m., Bumpy walked to the entrance. His tuxedo hung loose on his frame. Cancer weight loss. But he moved with the same predator grace. 62 years old. Dying. Still the most dangerous man in the room. His enforcer, Junie Bird, moved to follow. Bumpy raised one hand. Stay. At 6:51 p.m., Bumpy stepped outside. The Cadillac sat 15 feet away, engine running. The Chin visible through the passenger window, gray suit, fedora, face expressionless. The gifts remained on the sidewalk between them. Bumpy didn't look at the boxes. He looked directly at the Chin. 5 seconds. 10. 15. The street held its breath. Windows opened. Neighbors appeared. Everyone in Harlem knew this moment. History being written. The Chin didn't move, didn't smile, didn't speak. This was the test, the public challenge. Accept the gifts. Show weakness. Reject them. Start a war. Bumpy cut it. Survive. Then Bumpy turned around, walked back inside, left the gifts on the sidewalk, but he stopped at the entrance, spoke to Junie Bird. 2 sentences. Junie's eyes widened. Then he nodded. He walked to a payphone near the coat check, made one call, 90 seconds long. At 6:54 p.m., 3 police cars arrived. NYPD. Lights flashing. 6 officers. They approached the Cadillac. What the Chin didn't know was that Bumpy owned Lieutenant Charles Freeman, had for 14 years. Freeman owed Bumpy his life. In 1954, Bumpy stopped a Harlem riot from burning Freeman's precinct, saved 12 cops. Freeman never forgot. When Bumpy called, Freeman moved. Bumpy planned this 3 months ago. The moment the Chin asked for an invitation, Bumpy knew the play, the gifts, the public humiliation attempt. So Bumpy invited Lieutenant Freeman to the wedding as a guest, seated him at table 9, close to the entrance. Freeman wore a tuxedo, off-duty, but his badge sat in his jacket pocket, and his radio connected to every cop in the 32nd precinct. When Junie made that call, Freeman received it. He stepped outside through the kitchen exit, called his precinct. Suspicious vehicle. Possible weapons. Outside Small's Paradise. Send units. The police surrounded the Cadillac at 6:54 p.m. The Chin couldn't resist, had broken no laws. But he also couldn't be searched during a gangland funeral. Wrong optics. If the Chin had weapons in that car, if his enforcers carried guns, he'd spend tonight in custody. Miss the statement. Look weak himself. The Chin made a choice. He nodded to his driver. The Cadillac pulled away. No lights, no speed. Calm. Controlled. But everyone saw. The Chin blinked first. The gifts remained on the sidewalk, abandoned, orphaned. The most feared enforcer in New York left his offering on the street like garbage. Bumpy returned to the entrance, opened the first box himself. Inside, a silver tea service, worth maybe $3,000, traditional wedding gift. The second box, crystal glasses. The third, an envelope. Bumpy opened it. $5,000 in hundreds. The other boxes held similar items. Expensive, tasteful, proper. Bumpy handed everything to Father Bishop, who ran the local church. Auction these, he said. Give the money to families who need it, all of it. Then he walked back inside, signaled the band. The music started. Bumpy took his daughter's hand, led her to the dance floor. Everyone watched them. Not the Chin, not the abandoned gifts, just a father dancing with his daughter at her wedding. Junie Bird said it best, years later in an interview. Bumpy turned the Chin's power play into a $12,000 charity donation. Made him look like a fool and a philanthropist at the same time. That's chess, not checkers. At 7:03 p.m., the reception continued. The tension broke. Guests returned to their meals. The jazz band played Take the Train. Ruthie laughed. Her husband looked relieved. The moment passed into legend. Vincent Gigante never mentioned the wedding, never sent another gift, never approached Bumpy again. Word spread through 5 boroughs by midnight. The Chin tried to punk Bumpy Johnson at his daughter's wedding. Bumpy turned cops into party guests and made the Chin retreat. Gangsters from Brooklyn to the Bronx understood Bumpy Johnson might be dying, but he wasn't dead yet. 3 days later, the Genovese family backed off their Harlem expansion plans, not permanently, but long enough they'd wait for Bumpy to die naturally. No one wanted to be the man who challenged him at a family event and lost. The optics were too bad. The streets respected Bumpy more after the wedding than before. Lieutenant Freeman attended Bumpy's funeral 7 months later, front row, uniform pressed. He told reporters Bumpy Johnson kept more peace in Harlem than 100 cops could. He was a criminal, yes, but he was also a protector. June 15, 1968, wasn't about guns or money, it was about control. The Chin tried to dominate a moment. Bumpy understood something deeper. Real power is turning your enemy's strength into their weakness. The Chin brought gifts to demonstrate dominance. Bumpy turned those gifts into charity. The Chin brought fear. Bumpy brought the police legally, publicly, without violence. This moment revealed Bumpy Johnson's philosophy. He operated in gray spaces, used relationships other criminals ignored. That lieutenant wasn't muscle. He was leverage. Those guests weren't just witnesses, they were insurance. Bumpy built a world where his power didn't require him to fire a shot. His presence, his intelligence, his preparation, that was the weapon. Other crime bosses ruled through terror. Carlo Gambino, Joe Colombo, Vito Genovese. They built empires on bodies. Bumpy built his on respect, fear, and strategy. When you understand the difference, you understand why Harlem still speaks his name with reverence 57 years later. Real power isn't about who has the most guns. It's about who sees 3 moves ahead while everyone else is still planning their first. If this story showed you why Bumpy Johnson remained undefeated until his heart gave out, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you respect the code. Comment below, would you have accepted the Chin's gifts or rejected them? What would your move have been? Next week, the night Bumpy Johnson walked into a room with 5 made men who wanted him dead and walked out with their apologies. You won't believe how he did it.